Next year, voters across the country will head to the ballot box to make their voices heard. As specified in the Constitution, all 435 seats of the U.S. House of Representatives will be up for election, and 35 of the Senate's 100 seats will also be on the ballot. At the state level, 36 states and U.S. territories will be holding gubernatorial elections. That includes 19 sitting governors who are seeking another term, while 20 will be either leaving office due to term limits or by choice. With a preview of some of these races, I'm joined by a panel of Spectrum News political anchors. Alex Cohen in Southern California, Susan Arbetter in Albany, New York, Curtis Jackson joining us from Columbus, Ohio. Now, Alex, California's governor, Gavin Newsom, is term limited, so he'll be leaving an open seat. I imagine there's probably a crowded field that wants to succeed him, right?
That's correct. Upwards of a dozen candidates, Errol. And here's the interesting thing. In many states, Democrats vote on their top candidate, Republicans vote on theirs, and then those two face off in a general election. For more than 14 years now, we have had a system here known as the top two primary, which means the top two vote getters, regardless of political preference, are the ones who go to the general election. And now there's a possibility because of that, because there are so many Democrats, it could be that none of them garner enough votes, and we could even possibly see two Republicans face off in the fall. Now, as you see there on your screen, we've got folks like former Representative Katie Porter, current Representative Eric Swalwell, a former presidential candidate and billionaire Tom Steyer, all competing on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, we've got Sheriff Chad Bianco, who's been a real front runner on the right here. And there's still the possibility that more people, including a billionaire developer named Rick Caruso, who could enter the fray. What we know is that former Vice President Kamala Harris won't be running, current U.S. Senator Alex Padilla won't be running. And really, that's left a lot of Californians saying, I'm not too sure about anybody in this field. 2026 will certainly be a wild ride, Errol.
Okay. Now, Susan, meanwhile, in New York, the success of Zohran Mamdani, the newly elected mayor of New York City, has inspired a lot of other progressive candidates to run for Congress against moderates. What are some of the races that you're tracking?
Yeah, they're calling it Mamdani Mentum. There are multiple candidates who are, for example, rejecting contributions from AIPAC this cycle, which is quite a switch from the last cycle when, for example, George Latimer won a seat in Westchester, which is a suburb of New York City, against progressive incumbent Jamal Bowman. This cycle, Brad Lander, who is the city controller, is running against moderate Dan Goldman, who is the incumbent. Lander has the backing of the mayor-elect after endorsing him in the primary. Lander also has Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and socialists in the state legislature supporting him. The dean of New York's congressional delegation, Jerry Nadler, has announced his retirement, and several members of the assembly are running to replace him, including Michael Lasher and Alex Boris. And there are actually a whole bunch of people running, including JFK's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, and a survivor of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Florida, Cameron Kasky. Of these candidates, I think Boris and Kasky are the most progressive. It is said, though, that Lasher, who is more moderate and was a policy advisor to Governor Kathy Hochul, is considered the person that Nadler would like to inherit the seat. In upstate, Mike Lawler, who represents a purple district in the Hudson Valley, and was one of 4 Republicans to break ranks this week on the ACA subsidies and gender-affirming care. He has multiple challengers, Errol, and most of them are progressive.
Okay, very interesting. Curtis, in Ohio, finally, the race for governor is between a Democrat, Dr. Amy Acton, who led the state's COVID-19 response, and Republican Vivek Ramaswamy, a biotech entrepreneur. And there's also a couple of competitive Senate races that are shaping up. I see Republican Senator John Holstead, who took over for Vice President J.D. Vance, is being challenged by former Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown, who I guess is trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there are strengths and weaknesses for all of these candidates, as is normally the case. If you take a look at that Acton-Ramaswamy race, Acton, in the more recent Emerson College poll, now has a 1-point lead over Ramaswamy. that certainly is an advantage from where she was several months ago. But at the same time, you got over a third of the electorate that doesn't really know that much about her. If you look at Ramaswamy, he's got the Trump backing. Trump, of course, won this state 3 times, the last time by 11 points. However, he just had an op-ed in the New York Times in which he was calling out the groyperism that's existing now on the right. And that could kind of halt some of his momentum. He literally put out almost a call for help from other Republicans to start to kind of come out and denounce what is being seen here from the far right wing of the party now as it relates to this groyperism. If you look at that Husted and Brown race, of course, both men have some name recognition in the state. Husted was the former lieutenant governor before he took over for the seat of J.D. Vance. And of course, Sherrod Brown has been in the Senate a number of years and is now trying to get back. If you look at that race, healthcare is going to be a big issue.
Thank you all for all your contributions throughout the year. Thank you for your insights tonight.